People in our own backyards are hurting. There are insecurities around food, economics, mental health, access to justice, healthcare, and our society continues to become more divisive. But there is hope. Right here in Chicagoland, there are people and organizations who are on the front lines, working to bring about positive and transformative change. Each week, we're going to meet some of these agents of change and examine how they are spurring innovative ideas and finding solutions to push our society forward in a more just direction. I'm Sufyan Sohel, and this is Change Agents. Good evening. The reality is that no matter where we live or what our background is, racial and economic inequities impact all Chicagoans. The racial and ethnic wealth gap and the underinvestment we see rest upon decades, even centuries of local and federal policies that explicitly denied minority households from building the wealth that white households have been able to accumulate over generations. Policies and systems such as redlining, gentrification and displacement, unequal access to capital, and lack of job opportunities for people of color that continue to fuel the inequities we see today. Throughout the course of the show, we have discussed how our communities are struggling, with many of us often unaware of the plights of our neighbors and others hurting around us. Today, I am pleased to highlight an organization which has a home throughout Chicago's diverse neighborhoods and is committed to strengthening our communities by connecting all people to their purpose, potential, and to each other. I am so honored to have with me tonight Swati Staley, the Chief Strategy Officer and General Counsel of the YMCA of Metro Chicago. Swati, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Sufyan.
Of course. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Great.
Swati, I've heard about the Y growing up. I never quite understood it outside of what was depicted in media. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, not really Ys out there too many that I was aware of. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around this concept of the Y or the YMCA. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. The YMCA is a really unique organization in the breadth of services that we offer. A lot of people know us as swim and gym. A lot of kids learn how to swim at the YMCA. I learned how to swim at the YMCA, or are familiar with our childcare services like Head Start and Early Head Start. But truly, the YMCA is what the community needs from us at any given time. And so the YMCA as an organization has evolved in so many different ways to fit the needs of the community in our 165-year history. And so in the past, we have served as a housing facility. We continue to serve in that capacity. We also do extensive youth safety and violence prevention work with youth in underserved communities. We also still do childcare. We also still do wellness programming, including swim lessons, which we've become very, very famous for. But we're really a convening organization for community need wherever we sit. And that could be in city locations, in suburban locations, in rural locations. But truly, we assess what the community needs and we show up in the way that the community needs us.
That's fantastic. How many Ys are there in the Metro Chicago region?
We have 15 membership centers across the Chicagoland footprint, and that includes our standard fitness offerings, our wellness offerings, healthy living, healthy eating, but we also have 10 childcare locations and 5 resident camps in the Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan areas.
What are residence camps?
Resident camps are where kids and families can go to experience nature in a way that they are not able to necessarily in the city. And so we have summer camp that's held at these overnight camps, and we have ropes courses and obstacle courses and kayaking and canoeing and all sorts of outdoor activities. We do specialty camps where kids learn how to hike and really do like nature trails. And so there's a whole host of offerings. We also have a family camp up in Lac du Flambeau at our Camp Nawaqua that can host family retreats for the entire family to come and enjoy time away from the busy life in the city.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Is it safe to say that the YMCAs around the country are safe havens for community a place where people can come and, be at ease and outside of the chaos that may be in their neighborhoods?
Absolutely. I think the wise motto of "Why for All" is really something that that's really deeply rooted in sort of our DNA. We as an organization have been seen as a trusted community partner wherever we sit, and so we often serve as sort of the middle ground between groups that normally are either I don't want to say at odds with each other, but are not often aligned. And so, for example, we serve as a convening space where youth can get to know their police officers in their district, and in areas where there isn't necessarily that level of trust between law enforcement and the community.
A lot of that in Chicago.
A lot of that in Chicago, and so we are sort of the great mediator and the great convener across a lot of different areas, and so. There's definitely a place for everyone at the Y, which is something that we really lean into as an organization. Not everybody needs everything that we do. And so finding where the Y can fit in with someone's life is something that's really critical to sort of our ethos and understanding where we meet people. And so they may not, person may not need swim lessons, but they may really need a place where their senior community can get together and play pickleball. And so that may be how we appear in people's lives. And I think that's been sort of the confusion about the Y, is that because we do so many different things, that we mean something different to everyone. And so it just really depends on what you need and how we can step in and help.
How can people get more engaged in their local Y?
Yeah, absolutely. We do so many different community events, especially with the holidays. We've had turkey giveaways. We've had volunteer opportunities for our produce days, where we're inviting the community to come in and pick up fresh produce. There are a lot of volunteer opportunities in the childcare space. There's a lot of opportunities to connect with us in family engagement opportunities. For Halloween, for example, we did a trunk or treat where communities can come in and have a safe trick-or-treating experience within the walls of the YMCA.
Oh, that's great.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can connect with the Y, and it really depends on sort of what you're looking for. But something as simple as a Pilates class, or something as complex as how do we get together to solve food security issues. So the whole gamut.
I love it. So the pandemic, we're coming out of this multi-year pandemic, and the Y kind of shifted in how it operated, right? We were all in lockdown, so I would think that the Ys weren't being frequented as normally.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you all did during the pandemic.
Absolutely. The pandemic for the Y was at first totally crippling, because we were not able to use our space in the same way that we have had in the past. We are a place-based organization where, our goal is to convene people and to bring people together to really be in the same space together. And so with the pandemic, it really changed our outlook. And we shifted to thinking about how we could better serve the community. And we were approached by the city of Chicago because, during the pandemic, the motto was social distancing. We had to maintain 6 feet between each other in order to prevent the transmission of COVID. And one area where the city was having a very hard time understanding how to do that was with homeless shelters. And so with unhoused individuals in sort of traditional homeless shelter models, the spacing between everyone was much narrower than what we needed to maintain a safe environment. And so the city asked us if we could leverage the space that we have. And some of our sites are, 60, 80, 100,000 square feet locations, to decompress congregate sheltering. And so we actually stepped in, and for a series of, I think it was 6+ months, we were able to help decompress homeless shelters by connecting the homeless population in Chicago to resources that they needed, to support services, and to just really provide a safe place for them to be. And I'm really, really proud of of the role that the Y played in that time. And I think that, in coordination with the city of Chicago, we were able to have one of the most equitable responses to COVID of probably any major city in the country, and access to testing, access to vaccination, and it's still something that we continue to support the city in, however we can. But it was a really great example of sort of the Y shifting to meet the community where they needed us, and also the power of sort of that public-private partnership,
Yeah.
because to solve a problem that has never been seen before. It's not really a normal, it's not something that would come up on a day-to-day basis.
That's so awesome, and great job with your leadership in helping them navigate some of that. My last question is, what keeps you going to do this tremendous work in serving all of our communities and making sure the Y stays this beacon in all of our communities where people can come together and get the services and programs that they need?
Yeah, absolutely. The potential of the Y is immense. I think that the Y has this unique ability to sort of sit in this space where we're addressing community need in a pretty comprehensive way.
Sure.
The Y can't be everything, but what I always love to say is that it's sort of this great dot connector. There's a way for the Y to play a role in securing resources for people where they always need us. And so whether it's childcare support, whether it's medical physical therapy after encountering a medical issue, there's always something that feels like home at the Y, and I think can connect people in ways that it's been doing for 165 years. And now thinking strategically of how we evolve into the next iteration of what the Y can do in the community is really exciting for me. And the potential of the Y is I think unlimited at this point.
I love it. So what brought you to the Y?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I
You
had a
were
pretty
thinking about leaving the practice of law for a while, right?
I was, and definitely had not considered the nonprofit space in the way that I should have, I think.
Best space, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I agree. I came from a pretty traditional legal background.
Sure.
I started my career in big law, and loved the practice of law for a little bit, and went in-house, and liked the idea of having a dedicated client. And then when it came to really giving back, I felt like there was something that was still missing. And so an opportunity came up to join the Y, and it was at a point where I was really missing that give back element. And I joined the Y and was just immediately amazed by some of the youth safety and violence prevention programming that we were doing. Again, that's such a unique thing that we do in the city of Chicago that doesn't necessarily exist in many other YMCA associations, but it's based on the needs in the city of Chicago. And so tailoring our programming to what is needed in the city was something that was so exciting to me, and the opportunities that we had to fit in with other community partners and address a need or a challenge that hadn't previously been addressed by any other organization or the Y ever. And the freedom to do that, I think, was really exciting for me. So I found myself at the Y.
I love it. Well, Swati, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you for
course.
having me.
Truly grateful to hear the wonderful words of Swati Staley, a truly inspiring Chicagoland leader. Sit tight. We'll be right back with our next guest, a chef who found a home in Chicago and is now doing the work to uplift her communities. We'll see you soon.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Tune in for Behind the Confident Smile, available on CAN TV channels 19 and 21, and also available live streaming at cantv.org.
From cooking at the W and Lowe's hotels to serving as executive chef of Latin Schools of Chicago, our next guest is no stranger to the diverse culinary scene of our city. But it is her desire to support Chicago's communities that really sets her apart. I am so pleased to welcome our next guest, Chef LaShawn Burrell, the founder, CEO, and executive chef of Cajun Cafe Chicago. Chef LaShawn, how are you today?
I'm great. Look, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
So you're a chef,
I am.
and you started this Cajun Cafe Chicago. Can you tell us a little bit about Cajun Cafe Chicago?
Sure. So I actually started in 2017 under Sugar and Spice, and then we ended up rebranding in 2020 during the pandemic to Cajun Cafe Chicago. So with that, I started doing intimate dining and then kind of grew from that. So we started working with different places like CPS. We actually got our first contract this year with Catholic Charities.
Oh, congrats.
So thank you. We were able to cook for senior facilities and then also work with great organizations like Obama Foundation and the YMCA to cook for local lunchboxes during the summer. And with that, I am here now and just continuously, making good food, trying to make people happy and just doing that every day.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with the Obama Foundation and the YMCA? How were you connected to them to do the local lunch boxes?
Sure. So actually, I have a mentor, and she was actually doing it and recommended me. So I was able to meet with the Obama Foundation, who then in turn put me in contact with the YMCA for Local Lunchbox. So Local Lunchbox is a program that they brought from Boston to make sure that we feed our youth over the summer. And so with that, I was able to come in and cook for them and work with them and just make some really great food and just make people happy. Like I think for me, being able to work with the students and just kind of see how excited they are about the food that we were presenting was something that was really, really cool.
Oh, that's so awesome. But why do kids need lunches in the summer?
Because for one thing, they're at the YMCA, right? So, one, they need fuel. They need something that's going to be great and nutritious for them,
Sure.
right? And we were able to work with the Obama Foundation and the YMCA, also with USDA funding, to make sure that we provide those meals for them. So I think for me, it was important to, one, offer them something that not only tastes good, but looks good, that's nutritious, and that they really want to eat. And I think for me as a minority vendor, it was important to give them culturally relevant food as well. And just kind of share with them like, hey, this is what I like to eat, this is what I like to make. Let's see if you like it too.
I mean, I living in New Orleans for 6 years of my life. I love Cajun food, and actually, you brought us some tonight, so I'm excited to break bread with you in a little bit. Earlier, we were talking about some of the economic disparities in Chicago, and you had mentioned something about helping build skill sets. Can you talk about your own journey in becoming a chef and why sharing some of those skills, especially with our youth, is so important to you?
Yeah, so for me, I did have training. So I went to Robert Morris University, where I was able to get my bachelor's degree in culinary arts.
Wonderful.
And thank you. And then I was able to get my master's degree in business administration after that from the University of Phoenix. And with that, I was just able to work in the industry before I got to this point. So I worked at, like you said, places like Lowe's Hotel and W Hotel. I was actually a daycare chef for a while too and worked at Latin School in Chicago. So I felt like when working in these places, it was one thing to cook for adults and it was a totally another thing to cook for kids, right? And be able to show them that, hey, let me get you to try this. And if I can get their friends to try it, then they'll be willing to try it.
Yeah.
So, kids can be very
Vicky?
picky a little bit. And so if they like it, that means it's real good. So I think for me, being able to take my background and what I've learned over the years and bring it into things like working with the local lunchbox and YMCA was something that was important. But also being able to bring in youth workers and have them work for me during the summertime was something that was very important for me as well. Because now I'm not just creating generational wealth financially, but now I'm creating it lifelong. Teaching someone how to cook is something that they're always going to have and be able to share with someone else, whether it's at a dinner table for a holiday, a birthday party, or just because when they go off to school.
Oh, that's awesome. You live in the South Side.
I do.
But you work out in the West Side.
I do.
Which one do you like more?
I like them both equal.
Well, good answer. I think our viewers would have a problem if you picked one over the other,
Yeah.
so I think playing it safe. And you're trying to find unique ways to give back to both those communities. Can you share with us a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, so definitely working with the Obama Foundation, who is the one located on the South Side, gives me that, right? So I'm able to reach out to people, do community outreach over there, like with local lunchbox that was hosted on the South Side for the lunch party, right? But then with my kitchen being at the hatchery on the West Side, I'm able to work with Breakthrough Urban Ministries on the West Side, and then also give back to our children over there as well, and just community outreach. I also hire people from all over Chicago, but a lot of my residents and people that I have right now, or my workers, are residents of the West Side. Um, but I feel like it's important to be able to give back on both ends, like making sure that we are one, providing jobs, providing teamwork, making sure that we're giving them the skills that they need in everyday life. I think is really really important. And so for me, like I say, you're giving them the financial stability, you're giving them the professional stability that they need, and that lifelong thing as far as cooking and helping them just get to that next level. And I feel like the generational wealth part is just really really big.
Also very important. I also believe you mentioned that you will be working with one of our other guests, Dion Chicago Dream, for the holidays.
Yes.
And did I hear you correct? 500 meals you'll be serving?
Yeah,
500 households you'll be
just
serving?
500. Just
Yeah,
500,
can you tell us a little bit about this, please?
Yes. So we actually are going to be partnered together to do 500 meals over the holiday, which I'm extremely excited about. We have our menus set. He's going to be delivering them to the residents, and I think it's something that is extremely important because now we can reach so many different people
Absolutely.
and just share our craft with the world in such a big way. So for me, it's like being able to give back to our community through working with Dion, or being able to work with the Obama Foundation, or being able to work with the YMCA or Breakthrough Urban Ministries. At the end of the day, I want to be able to reach everybody that is looking to have a great experience and some amazing food, and just connect with them and continue to build along the way.
I love it. I hope you're able to continue to build everything that you want to. You touched upon a good point of, you're want to work to give back to these communities, and you're going to be making 500 meals. Why are some of these communities struggling to get fresh, food and fresh vegetables? And can you highlight a little bit about that and what you're trying to do to provide access?
So I feel like, sadly enough, some people live in, food deserts, and it's very challenging for them, whether it's on the financial end, not being able to afford the fresh produce, or whether it's just not available in their area or their local grocery stores. For me, shockingly, I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois, and I didn't realize that I lived in food desert until I went back home to visit, and I was like, I know, man. The things that I'm used to being able to have in Chicago, because it's so readily available, in my neighborhood, may not be available in someone else's. So it's important for me as a chef and as a business owner to make sure that I'm offering food that is fresh, that tastes good, that's nutritious, and that is, recognizable, especially to our young people too, because that's how you get them to try new things and be able to give them something that I feel like is going to impact them over the long haul.
Love it. So you're from East St. Louis. What brought you to Chicago, and what took you to this path to become a chef?
So yes, I'm from East St. Louis. I came to Chicago in 2009 to get my bachelor's degree, or to go to culinary school. So I stayed. It's a little cold here, but I stayed.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But I stayed. I really enjoyed it, and for me, I was like, hey, I can make a home here. And I thoroughly enjoy what Chicago has to offer. It's a beautiful city with beautiful people doing some really amazing things. Being able to meet people like Swati, the YMCA was one of those great things that I've done so far, right? Being able to meet people like Dion, who's giving back to our community every day by providing fresh food to our areas that's needed, is something that's really big, So I want to be able to do that same thing. Let me be able to offer you some amazing food and some connection and some great people, and be able to help them get to that next level.
I love it. Earlier you told me your favorite thing to cook is breakfast food.
Yes.
What's your favorite breakfast food to cook?
Everything.
But if you have to pick one, what
if
would
I had
it
to
be?
pick one, I would say French toast. I love French toast. So one of the first things that I made when I first started selling plates before I went full time was a peach Hennessy French toast. right? And people were like, "Oh my goodness, you didn't put the peaches and the Hennessy and the cobbler crust on here," and it was really, really good.
Yeah, it sounds
So
delicious.
yeah, it is. I'm gonna make you one. But it was really good, and people really love it, right? And for me, I feel like breakfast is like, or brunch is like the best of both worlds. So
Yeah,
I love it. It's
absolutely.
amazing, and you can do so many different things. For me, I feel like cooking is one of those things where it's art, right? And my canvas is the plate, and my hands are the paintbrush. So
Oh, I love it. I wish you the best of luck, Chef LaShawn, and best wishes for a great year this year in 2023. Thank you for joining us.
thank you so much.
Of course.
I'm Melissa Donaldson, and I like to call myself a curious boomer. Through that curiosity, I have found that when we engage with people from different generations, we are more alike than we are different. On Generation Flex, we will discuss the day's most interesting topics and discover each other's unique perspectives together. Join us Mondays at 7 p.m. on CAN TV 19, cantv.org, and on the new CAN TV Plus app.
Wow, what an episode. I'm so excited to watch Chef LaShawn continue to shine. I know our wonderful production team and I are patiently waiting to break bread with Swati and Chef LaShawn with some delicious food from Cajun Cafe Chicago shortly. Chicago is lucky. We have many incredible organizations that are out there working to serve our communities. Organizations like the YMCA that have been community hubs in our neighborhoods for decades. A safe place for our families to gather and to meet while offering incredible services and programs like the one Swati shared with us this evening. I encourage you to reach out to your local Y and explore ways to support them and discover your purpose, potential, and most importantly, each other. Martin Luther King said, "We may all have come on different ships, but we are in the same boat now." We, or our ancestors, all took so many different paths to come to the United States, to Chicago. The struggles of our neighbors are our struggles. The issues facing one affect us all. As I leave you tonight, I remind myself that we should be in this together, and that each of us has the ability and responsibility to positively impact the lives of those around us. Each of us can be change agents. Let us all be change agents. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you next week.